So thank you everybody for gathering in this socially distanced and geographically distanced world. I'm actually quite grateful that we can have everybody be a part of this because our family is spread out all over the world in different places. And I appreciate all of you coming. Last night, as we gathered here, I felt the immense emotion that comes in waves at times when a daughter misses her mother, but also when we miss others. When I looked around, though, I felt like I could celebrate. We had my mom's best friend here. We had my family, my immediate family, my son. In the middle of all of this, I stepped outside and I texted one of my lovely cousins in Holland. And really, I hope you turned your phone off in the middle of the night because I hate sending messages and thinking that you're waking up. I shed some tears. And then I felt immensely grateful for my life partner, Josh. Without him, we would not be able to do this gathering. All the technical support he has provided for this, I'm eternally grateful for. We decided to muster here in our garden. Our garden is a place that my mother spent a lot of time in her last 3 months. Each night, I would come home from work and she and Tree, or Teresa, would be hanging out here playing Scrabble. If anybody knows my mom, they know that she loved to play Scrabble. By the way, my son and his friend are in the background here. This is a celebration of life. And so you may hear some fun sounds or some screams, and we're okay with that here. I remember when we, and that's the royal we, as in my father and Josh, built this gazebo. Our friend Andy then came and he painted it over a number of days. I don't know if you can see the painting in the background, but it's quite lovely. My mom and I actually sat around and watched the progression of this for a long period of time. And in her wisdom, she rejoiced in what a lovely gathering place this would be. And she gave all the directions she could on how to build it. If anybody knows my mom, that's what my mom did. But she always had a reason and a rhyme for what she was doing. And I appreciate that. I'm gonna, in that spirit, give a few housekeeping directions here. So if you have phones, if you can mute them. If you're on Zoom, if you would like to speak, please type in the chat bar. And from the chat bar, Josh will let you know. Prearranged speaks. Thank you again for all being here. I see family and friends. And I know that my mom's spirit is here with us too. In the cat, apparently, at my feet right now. I see a lot of family and friends on the video here, and I really appreciate you all being here. I have to say, it's a little intimidating facilitating this. No others Toastmasters friends are out there, and their excellent ability to do speeches. I hope that I can do her justice. Why smile in such sadness? It's because of the memories of the laughter we shared in the past, the humor of life, the fun and the joy, the reminiscence certain to last. Why relief in such sadness? It's because there is a peace. With no more chance of pain, no one can hurt nor take away. There will never be fear again. I'm very grateful my mother has been able to transition to that place. I'm going to ask Josh now to play a video. Hopefully this works. The photos in this video were gathered by my father, going through each of the many, many, many photo albums that we accumulated throughout life. If anybody knew my mom, she liked to take a lot of pictures. I see many people here. Willie and Grunhild, thank you for gathering. You are part of our family too. Friends and neighbors. Angela. I can't see everybody because I can't see all the aspects of Zoom. Here, I think without further ado, we are going to have this video.
See you cry, lying there in that position. There's things you need to hear, so turn off your tears and listen. Pain turns your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. No, it won't all go the way it should, but I know the heart of life is good. It's nothing new. Bad news never had good time. But then, circle of your friends will defend the silver lining. Pain turns your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. No, it won't all go the way it should, but I know the heart of life is good. Pain draws your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. No, it won't all go the way it should, but I know the heart of life is good.
Sometimes in my dreams I fall away from sleep. I can't go to where I know my heart is meant to be.
And in the morning light, a sparkle from your eyes that I know is straight from your soul. This feeling I'm alive
To this love like a river, singing me to my home. Spark the fire of the giver, know that you're not alone. To the man in the mirror, I'm no different from you. Take my hand through the shadows, and I'll show you what's true. Everybody needs love, 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 love. Everybody needs love, 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 love. Everybody needs love, 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 love. We all need love, 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 love.
My name's Ed. I'm the husband, and I'm just here to pay a tribute to Karin and for some of the things that she's done in life. I know some of you in Holland know her story, but here in Australia and also in Edmonton, she was born just at the start of World War II, and her father was a U-boat submarine captain in the Dutch Navy, and at the start of hostilities, he took his submarine over to the Allied. A fair portion of our lives, but not always static. Karin herself did a lot of traveling. I also did some traveling, but Karin herself went to South America, to the US, to New Zealand and Australia. So she saw a lot of the world, and it didn't stop there. There's the Middle East, Egypt and Syria, also Europe as well. And in Europe, when she was there at the passing of her father, her parents, and also her older sister, she became the matriarch of her Dutch relatives. And she really delighted in going back and really held a lot of love just with all her nieces and nephews and also brothers when she did go back to Holland. And so she looked forward to that and really maintained the relationships well. This, of course, she passed on to her daughter Sandra, and Sandra's probably been the next matriarch there, who knows?
Not after my cousins.
Anyway, life continued, and unfortunately in the last 6 months, she had some health problems, and we thought it best, that's the whole family, that she come here. And she come with Sandra and Josh, and also their 2-year-old son, who was just filled with energy. And just in this family situation, and also the nice weather you have here, such as today. And we thought it best for her to be here just in this situation. Anyhow, it proved true. She really enjoyed it, and it was a very important part of her life, just to see the whole family and see a young child grow, do his changes day by day, which are very profound with a young child, and all this was readily absorbed here. Anyhow, Karin, she wasn't all work and play. There were some quirky sides of her too, and I won't mention the Ford Taurus and the gate post. I won't elaborate on that, but she did really enjoy certain things in life. And when we came here, we found that her daughter had a very strict regimen as far as sugar and things like that. So she was forced to keep a couple of packets of cookies downstairs in her room, hidden, of course. Also some chocolate as well, which she indulged with, and with Therese, her friend, and other co-conspirators, would have a really nice morning coffee. Now, I can see a few of you out there smiling, and that's how it was meant to be. And if Karin was around, she would want you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dad.
Yeah. Okay, I'm off then.
It's a bunch of BS, by the way, that I withheld sugar from my mother. I tried to withhold it from my father. Too much sugar in a day. Thank you, Dad, for that. Learning the history of our ancestors helps us gain a greater understanding of the challenges that they faced. They're all part of us. Their history often inspires greater love and compassion for their flaws and mistakes. The compassion can easily translate to our relationships with the living, within our family and outside of them. I would like to invite Angela, a close friend of my mother's, to speak now. And this will be another technical experience, so I think we're okay with that. I'm smiling, hoping Josh is ready for this. Thank you,
Yes.
Paul, for bearing with this. It's an experiment.
Okay. Well, I have to say that I'm really honored by being asked to talk. Karen and I had a very special relationship. We were very, very good friends. And of course, Ed now has taken a good third of what I was going to say, because I was going to dwell on the war years a bit, she being in Holland and the little boy who became my husband growing up next door in Belgium under the Nazi heel, and me groving around in the London Blitz around about the same time. So we had sort of experiences of rationing and bombs and making do and mending. But Karen went on to higher things. She went on to education. And what she did was absolutely incredible. And then she came over to this part of the world and she did it all over again and got a degree and so on in English. Absolutely brilliant. My poor husband struggled with English for all his life. He was French speaking, and he never got to the same standard of English that Karen did. And so I really can't say too much about her travels and so on, because it has enlightened us beautifully. But I did beg her to write things down. In fact, I nagged her to write some of her memories down so that she could share it with future generations. I don't know whether she ever did. But I shall go on with my own knowledge of her. And first of all, of course, as I say, education was so important to her. And she was so proud of everything that her daughter had accomplished. And what really thrilled her too was the intelligent and bright and enormous curiosity of her grandson. Stop it. He was, and she just hoped that he'd have teachers who'd work with him rather than trying to get him down to the norm, ordinary, thank you, level of the students, because he's higher than that and he's going to be, and she was so thrilled about him. So talking about her here, of course, she was the mainstay of our little library. I'm talking actually from Devon, Alberta. Devon is a very small little town just outside Errington. And she was the mainstay of the library. She bought books, she suggested books, she read books, she arranged book fairs, she arranged book sales, and she knew everybody. And just behind the library, there was a little room where we had exercises and yoga classes. And so she'd meet these people and she'd learn their names and she'd never forget them. And I knew what ailed them. So she'd say, well, Jane, how are you doing? You know, and so I'd be able to say, so how's your leg? And we sort of stripped this poor woman bare, you know, she had nothing to hide from us. But I do remember one day we were out walking in the parking lot by the library. And this lady came rushing up. Karen, how good to see you. It's been donkey's years. How have you been? I hear you have a little grandson. My daughter's just given birth to her fourth. My son's doing well. You remember my son? He's gone to India. He's doing so well. Listen, I was introduced. Oh, from Montreal, are you? Well, my cousin went to Montreal some years ago, and he didn't like it at all. He got into a cab, and the cab driver said, you've got to speak French. And my cousin never went back there. So that dismissed me. So anyhow, she turned back to Karin. She said, now look, you got my number, you let me know. You know, we'll get together and have tea and cookies and things, and we'll chat. That'll be wonderful, won't it? Goodbye. And she was off, leaving us both exhausted. So we walked on, and quite quietly, and so I said, "Who was that?" And she stopped dead on the sidewalk, and she said, "I have no idea." And we just collapsed. She had a lovely, dry sense of humor. But, you know, it didn't look like it, but she did put in a tremendous amount of work. And she worked also for the choir, our little community choir. And she had a lovely voice, and she was really, again, a mainstay of this choir. And we were so sorry when, can you go? When it came to an end. She really missed it. And then, of course, like all of her babies, was Toastmasters. And she was brilliant. I think she worked her way up the hierarchy of Toastmasters. And I said, well, you know, you're so high up there, I feel I should curtsy to you every time I talk to you. But she was my mentor, and she was so kind and so wise and so encouraging. And when I had to give my first terror-raising speech, and in Toastmasters, oh, stop it. In Toastmasters, every member has to do a little thing every week. They could either criticize other speakers, time them, judge them, and give little speeches, tell jokes. And one day, she was going to do the inspiration speech. It's only a couple of minutes. And so she talked about this time when she did rock climbing. And it was one of the most terrifying times of her life. But her daughter was there, and her daughter encouraged her and talked her up it all the way along until she got to the top and then came down again. And she said, I did it. And my daughter was my complete and utter inspiration. And I thought, oh, how absolutely wonderful to have such a relationship between mother and daughter. And as I say, her pride in her daughter and her grandson was unbelievable. And when she learnt that her daughter was going to have a baby, of course, she didn't touch the ground. And we followed poor Sandra's pregnancy every inch of the way. And then when Solomon was deciding whether he really wanted to be born or not, we sat there in concern and impatience and thrill and everything else. And then, of course, when he said, oh, all right, and he was born, the joy, her joy was incredible. And we talked about, oh, that little boy. And we had a video of him singing, what was it, Happy Birthday to his mother over and over again on her birthday. And I swear we both cried. It was so adorable. And watching him grow from a really enchanting baby into this incredibly intelligent and bright and wonderful child was really something to see. And then, yes, Scrabble. Ed had told her about Scrabble. Well, she'd had a very good friend, a 90-year-old lady, who she played Scrabble with regularly before I arrived in Alberta. And so she was quite pleased, and the lady died. So she was quite pleased to have somebody else to play with. She was good. And when you think she was doing it in English even, and she was incredible. And she taught me all sorts of little tricks, how to sort of use the colored squares, you know, put a little thing in there, and you could squeeze that word right in there and get more points, and add on this and get more points. And so I became quite proficient. And one day I said to her, well, look, we've got a few languages between us. Shall we try and do it in a different language or different languages next week? So she agreed. So the following week we started off in, what was it, German, French, Dutch, of course, and using English as a sort of last resort. And this game went on for hours. And I got desperate at one point, and I looked at my little tile holder thing, and I put out on the board something like the ZWYLE or something. And she looked at it quite solemnly. And she said quietly, "What is that?" And I said, it's a two-wheeled cart, usually drawn by a big dog like a St. Bernard or something like that, a Newfoundland." And she looked at the board for quite a while. And she said, "No, I don't think so." And of course, I had to take the tiles away. And then later on in that game, she put down GOSS. And I said, "What's that?" She said, "Oh, that's a goose in Dutch." Well, I seem to remember that in German, a goose is Ganze, something like that. And of course, the two languages are very much alike in many ways. And I thought, "No, really? Can this be true?" And she was sort of looking at me, you see, and she didn't. There was silence. About the only time we were silent between the two of us. And I let her have it. And she had this sort of little smile right there. And I still don't know if I'd let her get away with it or whether it really was GOSS was goose in Dutch. And then we were hours, as I said, playing this game. And she looked at her watch and she had to go, of course, to get supper ready. I don't know what poor Ed was thinking about. And then came COVID. And we didn't see each other for months, but we did talk every day on the phone. And I think Monday, Ed decided that she really could use a bit of getting out of the house. We were both felt very sort of interned. So she came over and we had a game of Scrabble. And I was very heartbroken at how frail she was. And then a few days later, Ed, of course, brought her over to BC and her family. And she took on a new lease of life. She was so thrilled. She was so happy. She just loved the garden. She said, "The food is so wonderful." And I thought, thank God she's eating. And of course, she was so thrilled to meet Josh and Sandra's friends and all Solomon's little friends. And she watched them and she said she couldn't pick Solomon up. He was too heavy, but she just loved to watch him. And watching all the fruit grow and everything. And she said, "And you know what they've done? They put on one of these chair things on the stairs, so I don't have to walk up the stairs." She said, "I'm treated like a queen." And every time we communicated, she said she was being treated like a queen. And I said at one point, "Well, I'm delighted. You deserve it." "Oh, thank you," she said. "But it's so wonderful." And then I didn't hear from her for a long time. And although I emailed, but anyhow, then Ed called to say that she was in hospital. And a little while later, she decided that she'd leave us. And it must have been unbelievably hard for her family. But I know it's left an enormous hole in my heart and in my life. She was a wise, kind, generous, wonderful lady. And I loved her dearly.
Did you spell it?
Thank you, Angela. That was very much appreciated. Karin was not just my mother. She was not just my father's wife. She was not just a friend. She was, as we all are, a person of many stories. We will not be able to capture all of her stories here today, but keep telling them. And keep telling them of your loved ones. That's how we carry on. Just last night, I heard a story about how my mom almost did not get out of Mexico on a traveling trip with her close friend Delia because she forgot some paperwork. Forgetting an important bit of paper is not something that I would have attributed to my mom, whose purse was always super full and overflowing with games and Kleenexes and extra bags. I'm actually the one now who has the overflowing purse, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that's because I'm a mother or if that's a trait I inherited from her. I see there's a few other speakers who would like to speak. I'm going to ask Sydney Smith now to speak as another tribute to a friend. Sydney and her daughters, Amy and Georgia, have been a part of our adopted family since I was about 14, which according to my husband is about 75 years ago. She and Karin had a very close bond. You can go ahead, Sydney. Oh, actually, I think you can go ahead.
I'll unmute me. Hello, everyone. I'm Sydney, and as Sandra said, I'm Georgia and Amy's mom. And it was the most wonderful. Oh boy, it was just wonderful to meet Karin and Sandra when they came and knocked at my door after, well, I think it was a day after I moved to Edgewood Acres. And they introduced themselves and welcomed me to Edgewood Acres. And from that moment on, it was a bond that has lasted a lifetime. I have written pages and pages, and I tried to type them out and my computer wouldn't let me. I can't read my own writing, and I haven't got enough time to read all the pages that I've written. But I want you to know that Karin and the family have been just filled our hearts throughout the years. And we celebrated together and we cried together. And Karin was there every step of the way. I was worried that I was going to cry if I didn't just read what I'd written. And I am. Forgive me. I have so many stories I could tell. And I had written one great big long one about a ski trip we'd taken. And the long and short was we'd taken Georgia with us. And we had gotten up the mountain on the ski lift. And when we finally got off and were ready to ski down with Georgia, and she was only about 4, she tells me that she has to go to the bathroom. So Karin always had a very logical, practical solution. Decided that, if we just walked over to the side off the path and held her in the air, we'd be able to help her out. So unfortunately, it had been snowing like crazy on the mountain. And as we got off the beaten path, the snow got deeper and deeper very quickly. And we were pretty much up to our waist trying to hold Georgia above the snow. And we kept on sinking. And we started to laugh because it was so ridiculous. We thought we'd try to give her some privacy and preserve her dignity. And we didn't get very far off the path. So we decided that we had better just, get that snowsuit off and just let Georgia do her business. So I pulled off the top and Karin had her legs, I had her arms, and Karin grabbed the bottom of the snowsuit and her clothes. And just as we were laughing our faces off, Karin sunk and Georgia sunk and started doing her business and ended up in the snow. So unfortunately, Georgia ended up very wet, and we ended up very wet. And we finally got her snowsuit back on, and we got ourselves out of the snow onto the path. And luckily, this young ski instructor who had been watching along with many other people, he offered to ski Georgia down to the chalet. Well, Karen and I skied right along behind her, and Georgia loved it. She looked like a pro going down that hill. And we got back to the chalet and we got her all dry and cleaned up. But I'll never forget, we could barely move because we were laughing so hard. And the look on George's face just doubled us, you know, the hilarity of the whole situation. And then the crowd that we had gathered for this event. Anyway, I had the privilege, we've had the privilege over the years of spending incredible holidays, and the births of both my daughters. And Sandra told me once that when my youngest was born, Amy, that it was because of all the care and the high needs that were involved with that little miracle of mine. She decided she wanted to be a nurse. And I'll never forget the night that Amy died in my arms and was turning blue. And I panicked. I went into shock, I believe, and I phoned Karin right away. And I don't know how they got there so fast. And Marge, who's a nurse who lived right across in another acreage, they all arrived at the same time. And Sandra started infant CPR, and they saved my baby. And that just gives you some examples of, you know, the highs and the lows and the you know, the experiences that we shared together. Another beautiful one was spending Christmas 2 years ago with all of you in Errington. And there was a big power outage that went on for days. And it was amazing how everybody, you know, I remember making a huge pot of chili, or I can't remember what it was, but it was big. And we ate on that for about 5 days. We turned on the barbecue and heated it up, and Ed got water, and it was wonderful. It was like going back to the 1800s. I love Karin with my whole heart. And, you know, there wasn't a time, not one time, that Karin wasn't there for us, that all of the family wasn't there for us. And for me, I've told people over the years, and I told Karin so many times, that she was my angel. And she will forever be my angel. And I believe that even now she's with us, and she's smiling in her gentle, quiet way. And she will always be with us in our heart. And I am so grateful for Sandra and Ed and their little boy and Josh. And I have to stop now because I'm just going to sob. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sydney. That was really heartfelt. I'm going to see now if Anne Anne, are you there? Are you ready?
Sandra, it's Anna. Can I talk?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So I wrote this in August 2 years ago, and it's called Anchors Away, which I think kind of fits because you're in by the coast and because Karin, your mom, came from Holland, and you know the problems that they had with the dike. So here we go. And for your Brynhild, I'll try to say it slowly. Anchors hold us where we need to be, safe and strong, from the winds and tides, waiting for calm waters. Anchors are our lifeline in life that hold us together until we can go on. Now I'm going to cry. Anchors are the friends of our life that get us through troubled waters. They are our lifeline. And I want to dedicate this not just to Karin, but to Karin's brother, who came in from the Middle East. Can you hear me? Who flew in from the Middle East a long time ago to Edgewood Acres and did not even make it there because my cat Luigi, who was named Luigi because he loved spaghetti, crawled up a 100-foot tree, and Karin's brother crawled up that tree and rescued Luigi. He lived for another 15 years. And by the way, Sandra, you look beautiful. So I have one more thing to read. And because we're in times of trouble right now, this is not, I didn't write this one. This is a poem that I'm sure Karin has in her treasure chest that we read at my mom's service. And by the way, there's nothing harder than losing your mom. And don't tell anybody to put it away and get over it or compartmentalize it or any of that stuff, because that never happens. They're alive forever and you're always connected. And that's how it goes. None of those rules. Okay, after that little lecture. It's called Be a Dreamer. It's by an archbishop from a long time ago in Great Britain. And it's called Be a Dreamer. Dare to dream, for dreamers see tomorrow. Dare to make a wish, for wishing makes way for hope. And hope is what keeps us all alive. Dare to reach out for the things no one else can see. Be unafraid to see what others cannot. Believe in your heart and in your own goodness, for in doing so, others will believe in them too, as in TOO. Believe in magic because life is full of it. But most of all, believe in yourself because within you lies all of the magic, the hope, the love, and the dream of tomorrow. I so love you and your family. And I want to tell you something else. We went to derbies together, concerts together, or this whole community, Edgewood, went with you as a family together everywhere. And we're with you now. God bless you.
Thank you, Anne. I love that the community is such a key part of my mom's life and our life here too. We have our community gathered here today. We're all shivering a bit, but everybody's hanging in there.
The sound is, because
I also really appreciate, I have to say, that Georgia tolerated her mom telling another story about her going to the bathroom in a public event.
God bless Georgia too.
Smile.
Okay,
It's muted now.
okay, good. I don't
If anybody else would like to speak, please
well,
just put
I
your
don't know
just
how,
put a hand up or say you'd like to in the chat box. Right now we're going to hear a video. Oh, we will hear a video in just a moment from my lovely cousin Marie
I don't talk so.
in Holland.
I talk there.
And would you mind muting your microphone as well?
Is it muted?
No,
Thank you.
just,
Where is it?
oh,
My cousin pre-recorded this from the family side. It's been a bit of a shock. Both my mother and her brother have passed away in the last few months.
Loving someone has nothing to do with how much time you spend together or how often you talk on the phone. It also has nothing to do with how close you live to each other. That's how Sandra, Anne-Marie, Pam and I call each other sisters, even though we live so far apart and don't talk to each other every day or even every week. The same goes for Karin. She was our aunt, and she lived in Canada, but despite the distance, she managed to play a big role in the lives of all three of us. Somehow she was always around when there was something important going on in our lives. She was here when Gerard and I got married, when Peter and Anne-Marie got married, and she was here when Marinelle, our mom and Karen's sister, died, and she was also here when Walter, our dad, passed away. She was even here when Junior, Pam's son, was born. We even went on a holiday with us girls and Karin to Jamaica. We had so much fun there. It was so relaxed. We still have compromising pictures of Karin jumping into the pool. During that holiday, she also became a part of Marlon's life, Pam's significant other and Junior's dad. Karin was also someone who always fitted in whenever she was here. Things were always literally familiar with her. On a few occasions, she stayed with us for a few weeks, and we had so much fun. We played Scrabble in different languages together in one game. She did homework with the kids, and everywhere we went, she went. It was sometimes funny and confusing, because her Dutch was still very good, but sometimes a little old-fashioned, and she would say funny things. I remember when we were out in a little village in the Netherlands called Veere, and we were sitting outside close to the harbor. We were with relatives from all over the world. That's how the conversation went from Dutch to German, English and to Spanish, all mixed up. We all understood, but the other people who heard us had no idea what they were listening to. Karin spoke all languages and she had no problem jumping from one to the other. She was our aunt, but she was also very much our mom's sister. Maybe that's why Karin always felt like a stand-in mom for us and a stand-in Oma for our children. I think that comparing someone to your mother is the biggest compliment you can give someone, and Karin definitely deserves the compliment. Like our mom, she was modest, sweet, caring, and committed. We all cherish the times we spent with her, and this goes for our kids also, who will dearly miss her. Ed, Sandra, Josh, and Solomon, you are lucky to have had someone like Karin in your life. She will never be forgotten here in the Netherlands, and from here we wish you all the strength you need to cope with missing her as a wife, mother, and Oma.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I would like now to attempt something. I'm not sure if it will work very well, but we will try to do a procession down our newly created path here on our property, which we are calling Ancestors Alley. And it's a place where we can go and remember our loved ones. We are going to lay a plaque for my mother on next to a bench that Josh built. As we're doing this, I am hoping that you can all follow us virtually, but if this doesn't work, then this will be the end of the Zoom. And thank you, everyone. And thank you, everyone here. I'm going to invite Delia up to sing Amazing Grace as we walk along here. When we get to the place to lay the plaque, we're going to have some bulbs and plant them there so that they'll come up in the spring. I hope to see all of you. I'm actually really grateful that there were 39 participants here today, plus I think about 12 in person here. That seems like a lot in this day and age. I'm going to let Delia start us off with Amazing Grace.
Thank you very much, Sandra and Josh. It's an honor to be here. I have to just give you a little bit of background before we start with the song. I first met Karin in the languages department at a school that we taught in together. And we just stayed friends. Since then, Sandra was about maybe 12 years old. Give you a little bit of a context. And Karen and I traveled a lot of places together. We traveled to Australia, we traveled to Mexico. That's the story Sandra told, to Holland and to Spain. She came one summer when I was studying there. But a story about the bathroom was in Australia. Karen was always looking for the bathroom. And our friend that we went to visit, Arthur Kratzman, an Aussie, he said, I'm going to make Karen a t-shirt that says, "Where's the bathroom?" Just as a joke, because it was a little hard to find at times. At any rate, it's a last request that Karen made of me to sing Amazing Grace at her funeral. I had no idea it would be so soon. I'm sure as the rest of you, it's just hard to say goodbye. However, I thought the words that were chosen for that song, Love Changes Everything, that was with the video at the beginning, was all about Karen. Karen was full of love and she spread it wherever she went. So let's get on with the singing, folks. We're going to start with Amazing Grace and go down to the bench. And the lyrics have been provided for the folks here. We're going to start out with the first verse. If you feel moved to join, please do so.
Just before we start then, while we're just waiting for Josh to get us ready to move here, I've got a smudge that I'm going to bring with us. Smudging is often used by Native Americans. It's not religious, but it's a spiritual act. It's an act of clearing the soul of pain, grief, anger, frustration, and sadness. My intention with this smudging today is to make you all cough, but is to have our love of Karen and each other travel away on this smoke. The air that we're breathing here will eventually be the air that you are all breathing there. We are all connected, even if we're separated or socially distanced.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Then sun.